Hello guys, what is going on? It is Sandra from Inspired Keys. So the reason why I am online doing a live YouTube video is because I am doing a live Q&A, and this session is specially for Inspired Keys Academy members. So anyone who has questions in the Academy, you can ask me, and my job is to do my best to answer any questions that you have. So if you do have any questions on worship keys at all, what you can do is to leave me your questions on the chat, and I'm just trying to see how to actually get this going. Is anyone actually okay? Great. It's great to see that some of us are watching live. It's awesome having you. Do you mind if you see any chat section? Awesome. Great. Yes, I do see some chats coming in. Awesome. That's good. Now, if you have any questions on Worship Keys or Inspired Keys Academy, feel free to ask me. Now, so this question, this YouTube live really is for Inspired Keys Academy members to ask questions. And I will be answering member questions first. Today, I will be addressing the topic of what to play on the keys during altar calls. So, supposed to start at 11:30, and I'm actually a little bit early just to see how this thing works, and it's my first YouTube live video, so I'm really just exploring and checking things out as we go from here. If you if you are a Worship Keys keyboardist, could you maybe leave a reply on the chat and let me know? Because I would really like to see if any of us watching here are worship keyboardists, and you're also curious to find out about what to play during altar call or any help that you might need. So I can see DJ Nanu saying, I need help in composition, and that is really cool. Now, maybe feel free to text a little bit, just type a little bit more so I understand your questions, because sometimes it's pretty hard to know what that really means. So we still have, I think, about 1 minute before it's 11:30, and I want to make sure that we do start on time. So what I'm trying to do now is to see if I can access the chat from my laptop, because I'm actually using a mixture of laptop and phone right here. And live stream. Yep. At the moment, I am trying to see if I can access my chat from my laptop. Doesn't seem to be possible. Okay, can you hear me well, guys? If you can hear me well, can you please let me know in the chat? Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks, DJ Nanu. Great. So I'm actually going to get started just because it is already 11:30. And today, awesome. Thanks so much for letting me know. Today's topic, it's really any question that you have on worship keys. Members' questions get priority with the answering, but I do have a question here that is about what to play during altar calls. So what I have here will be, I'm just gonna show you. Awesome. Thanks so much, Dwayne. I'll flip my camera and show what I've got here. I've got my Novation Launch Key 61, and that's attached to, of course, my laptop. And this is my Inspired Keyboardist YouTube page. So what's going on is I've got my Inspired Keys Academy members only Facebook group. And if you are an Inspired Keys Academy member, you get to leave your question and in the Facebook group, and I will answer your questions with priority. So if you want to find out more about Inspired Keys Academy, be sure to go to inspiredkeys.com/join, JOIN, and you can find out more over there. So I've got information on what's available in the Inspired Keys Academy and how that's going to help you become a better worship keyboardist. And I am attaching my Novation Launch key to Worship Essentials just because I love the sound on it. It allows me primarily to do what I really want, which is to use a mixture of piano and pad. And what's really cool is also that you get to have a choice of, I'm using the patch called That Worship Sound, as you can see from here, That Worship Sound. So I think this patch sounds particularly good. It's got a choice of 2 different pads. I'm just going to use this main one, which is pad 1. Pad 2 actually sounds a lot deeper, so I might use that only when the music gets kind of more climactic, but otherwise I'm actually going to just keep it to pad 1. And piano, on here I can adjust the piano levels, so if I don't wish to have any piano, I can mute the piano and just have pad sounds. And if I just want piano, I can mute my pad sound as well, so that's really cool. And I'm actually gonna go straight on. Well, as you can see, my setup's extremely simple. It's connected to my laptop, so I'm just playing right here, and also I've got my Bose speakers, portable speakers attached, and the sounds coming out from my Bose portable speakers. Now, if you have any questions about my setup, please feel free to ask. I've got my questions in an Evernote over here, so I'm actually going to start loading that up on my questions and my answers. And I'm actually also going to attach my phone because I'm YouTube living from the phone, and what I'm doing now is I'm just attaching it on the top here, and hopefully you can see my fingers nice and well as I play. And great, so I'm actually going to be sitting down, and I will be teaching about the topic of what to play during altar call on the worship keys. So here is a very general tip. If you absolutely do not know what to play at all for altar call, I highly suggest chords 1 and chord 4. So chord 1, chord 4. And to make everything really simple, we're just going to use the key of C. And so chord 1 will be C major chord, and chord 4 will be F major chord. Okay, now the thing is, it actually sounds really like simple if it's just chords 1 and 4, and in fact it kind of doesn't sound great. You probably won't want to hear in an altar call something like, because that's just not the best kind of sound. So what you want to do is you do want to have the correct chord inversion. So in this case, I highly recommend something extremely simple. So kind of copy me if you will. I have a video about everlasting 1 and 5, and I would like you to check it out if you can. So 1 and 5 in the key of C major is 1 C and 5 is G. So basically just keep that 1 and 5 or the C and G going on in your right hand, and anyone can do that. Now you just need for your left hand to play the 1 and the 4, so you don't actually need to play the whole C, E, G and F, A, C, because that just doesn't sound so good. All you gotta play is C, G on the right hand. The left hand, just play the bass notes. So chord 1, bass note is C. And then chord 4, bass note is F. And that's it. And if you just repeat that slowly, it already sounds quite ministering. As you can hear, it's just very unintrusive and just very calm. Take your time. Now, like everything, when you play too much of the same thing, it does get stale. So what to do when it does get stale? I highly suggest using inversions. So to play an inversion, it will mean to flip the chord, right? So in the case of C, if this is C major, an inversion will be to move the C from the bottom up to the high C. So what you end up having is E is in the bass. So this would be chord 1B because it's the first inversion. So what I end up having will be E on the bass. And so what I'm going to do now is a mixture of chords 1, 4, like just now. And then I'm going to use 1B, which sounds very fresh in my opinion. Like I really like the sound of this. And then go back to 4. I really just like that. It's like just 1, 4, 1B, 4. 1B right here. And this is chord 4. And then with everything again, if you play a lot of that, it's going to get stale. So what I do suggest is for you to enhance your chord 1 or 1B with an added 2. So instead of having just 1, 5 on the right hand, add a 2 in there, so it sounds like, and you can do this sometimes. You probably shouldn't do it every time because if not, it's gonna get stale again. So I'll do it like the normal chord 1, and then the normal chord 4, the normal chord 1B, the normal chord 4. Do that for any number of times really until you feel like we're ready for a change. And when you're ready for a change, add a 2 in there and you end up having this. So the difference is quite subtle, but it's a much richer sound. So once again, this is the normal chord 1 and this is the enhanced one where you add a 2 inside. I really like that sound. It just sounds so ministering. It's also a very open sound and it generally sounds good with the rest of the chord progressions as well. So let's just have a go. So that's chord 1. So this is chord 4 but also with a 2 in here, that one added inside. It definitely sounds great with chord 1B, first inversion of chord 1. Now you can add like chord 4 straight on, or you can take away the 2 for chord 4. I think both sound great. I kind of prefer this one though. And then when it's chord 1 again, I do quite like adding the 2 most of the time. So what I'm doing now is I'm just enhancing my chord 1 by adding another 5. So basically I'm just kind of thickening the chord up a little bit, not just with a C and a C and a G, but adding another G in there. So there's CG and there's a CG here. So that CG, CG, really, really nice and thick and rich sound. And with a 2, it would be even nicer. And sometimes you could even consider using chord 1B just as an inversion. So you can go onto 1B first, and then on to chord 4. And now I was even thinking it's probably going to sound pretty good if you invert chord 4 as well. So chord 4 is, so if you invert chord 4, it's going to be, so then you have an A at the base. So what you end up having is, if you have a chord 4, and then you have a 4B, which is a chord 4 first inversion. And now that sounds really sweet. If you just move everything up one step with the exception of the top note, that's a 5B. So So what you have is a chord 4B, and then a 5B, and then a chord 1. It's actually a beautiful chord progression. So once again, I'm just going to redo the whole thing. This is chord 1, with the added 2, and then a normal chord 4, a chord 1B with an added 2, a normal chord 4, and to go back to 1, don't just go back to 1 directly, but have a 4B and a 5B first. So here's a 4B, 5B, and here's a chord 1 again. So instead of doing a 1, 2, 5, like I did just now, I kind of changed it a tiny bit. Instead of doing 1, 2, 5, I'm doing 2, 3, 5. So it's again an added 2, but instead of using 1, I'm using 3. So this is what I'm playing on my right hand sometimes. And it goes really well with chord 1, bass. And so once you get those chord progressions going, it sounds good, but then you might need to play a little bit more. Like you can't just hold on to the pad all the time, especially for a really long alto chord. So what you want to do is maybe you can just spread out the chords a tiny bit and play a few patterns, but keep it very, very subtle, because you got to remember that we're in the business of ministering to people. People are being prayed for, so you definitely don't want to play too many percussive sounds. A percussive sound is like a piano sound because it's every single time you play on the piano, like it's the sound of a hammer hitting a string. If you know how a piano works internally, it's pianos, hammers hitting strings, right? So we don't want that kind of a sound too much. So keep it very, very subtle. Just add little touches, but you don't want to add too much. So this is like a really bad example. Don't play anything too busy. Way too much going on, and we definitely want to keep it very, very toned down during an alto call. So what you want to do is just add very light touches. Of course, we're talking about how this is a very general chord progression. This is not a particular song, although I think it leads very nicely into most songs. So here's how I will sort of play a little bit more just to keep things going. Assuming I've played the long held sustained chords for quite a while, and we're all kind of tired of this general chord, so then I might just add a few touches, maybe something as simple as 2 notes. So I've kind of just added a 4 and a 3. And what I really like to do is to keep things very consistent, so I'm actually just going to keep doing the 4-3 idea. As you can hear, I'm just kind of consistently doing the 4-3 every time I go into a new chord. So keep it really simple, very, very subtle like that. Maybe after the 4-3 idea, I might, after doing it a few rounds, I might actually go into another idea building out of the 4-3. So maybe I'll add a few more notes besides 4-3. So 4, 3, 2, 1. And maybe a 5, 1, 5, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now what you want to do is also to make sure you have a sense of time, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, So you have a sense of timing. You're not just randomly floating. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, and a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2. So there is a sense of pulse going on, and you're not just random. Like we need to do a little bit more, so we're kind of building on that chord progression. We're starting to do a little bit more stuff, so I'm actually keeping things really subtle. What I want to do next is I want to create a little bit of rhythm with my 1 and a 5 at this lower range. So what I might do is actually just to kind of play the 1 and the 5 a little bit, create like this underneath layer of rhythm, something like this. Just kind of came up with right now really is just a it's dum da dum da 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 dum. Now you really can come up with anything that you want, but that's just something that I felt kind of flows nicely into this one. So something that you really want to build is the ability to hear an idea in your head and then just learn to play it out. Because I really believe the Holy Spirit puts tunes in our hearts, in our heads, and it would be so cool if we could just play out that tune that God kind of sets into your heart. And so yeah, what we've got here, we'll be using a whole bunch of chords, 1 and 4, and using inversions, using an everlasting 1, 5 on top, keeping things really subtle, no extra notes or sort of running figurations to distract people, because we really don't want to distract people receiving prayer, receiving ministry. And now what if you only have one instrument? Well, if you are the only piano player, like you don't have a piano and pad sound, you only create piano sounds, I highly suggest playing stuff that's just really calm. And the problem with piano sound is that it doesn't sustain, right? Like you can only just do. So you can try to stretch it, but yeah, as you can see, we can't really hear it anymore. So you kind of need to play a little bit more, but don't go into like a full-on comping pattern like. Unless you're going into a pretty fast song and a very upbeat song, but still, if it's alto call, in general, we're assuming at least 5 minutes of quiet, calm music. So if you're on the piano alone, I highly suggest just kind of playing for as sustained a long chord as you can, and then in between kind of add a little bit more notes just so that it doesn't fade off till you can't hear anything. So like. So I'm just kind of leveraging on the piano's normal sustain for as long as it can last. However, I do feel like piano alone is not the best sound. If you have to choose between either piano or pad, I highly suggest using pad. So I'm going to mute my piano, I'm going to turn on my pad, and that way you don't have to worry about sustain. You can just hold on and let the pad hold that chord for you. It doesn't get any softer, it goes on, people keep hearing it, and it's a very ministering effect. So I don't even have to add extra stuff, but you know, I don't have piano and pad anymore, so I'm just gonna have pad only. So here's just pads. And I'm going into the 1B. Maybe I'll just add a tiny bit of extras on the top. So I'm just doubling the C on top. I'm playing a B on the top just to create a sense of longing. And here I'm just trying to create a sense of suspension. It's chord 4 with a B on top. And then that A, B resolves down one step to an A. And then the G resolves one step down to an F. And then even to E. And it just sounds like so wonderful and ministering just because it's a pad sound, it's just nice and sustained. If you can get hold of an instrument that allows you to layer 2 instruments, I highly suggest piano and pad, so that way you can have like best of both worlds really. You get the percussive sound when you play, but you also get the sustaining of the pads. That's really all the pointers I have to share today. So I think to finish up with this question, I am going to play maybe a couple of minutes of what I might play during an altar call. And this is once again, no particular song that we're gonna lead into. You're just suddenly told you gotta play altar call music and you're like, what? Okay, you weren't prepared. No problem, just play a whole bunch of chords 1 and 4, use a couple of inversions, use piano and pad where possible. If you can only choose one, use pad. Don't play too much, don't play anything too percussive that might distract people, and have lots of fun. So here we go. I'm just going to start with something really, really simple. And I will create a little pulse for myself just so that I have a sense of direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm actually having this number counting in my head. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm gonna keep going on like that. So I'm not gonna count the pulse anymore. Feel that pulse together with me. Keeping it very, very light, just very minimal touches of stuff. And after playing a little bit of, you know, having some more movement and everything, I might then just tone down a whole lot and just play long sustained chords again. So it's all about being really subtle. You want to implement a change, but not too many changes at a time. And so every time you do implement something, keep it going for a section or two. And by a section, I just mean an entire phrase of chord progressions. In this case, it's chords 1, 4, 1B, 4 again. So that's sort of one section. Do it for 2 sections. Take your time, feel it, just sort of listen with your ears, what needs to come next. And I highly suggest that you also are confident enough to play without staring at the keys, because, you know, when it's altar call, you're really not just a musician, but you are kind of like a priest. You are ministering. It's spiritual work. So you want to have your eyes just looking at what's going on. And also you are working with the pastor, right? And whoever it is, the preacher, the pastor, the people praying, the prayer leader. So just take your cue from them. Don't go into your own zone and, oh, I feel like doing a very fast rhythm now, I will just do it. I mean, maybe that's appropriate because you guys look like you're wrapping things up and people are like, it's a glorious session of people just being delivered. So, you know, everyone's starting to feel really upbeat, but maybe it's a time of where everyone's just on their knees and crying. Then you kind of need to be very sensitive to the moment and go like, okay, great, let's tone things down a little bit and take it easy, minimal movement. So yeah, a whole bunch of skills needed really, but just have fun. If you have any questions, you're very welcome to ask. Now, Worship Essentials, I am definitely not an affiliate for them. I do love that template. I think you can get it from thatworshipsound.com. So that's THAT worshipsound.com. Worship Essentials template. I do believe the latest version is 1.3. So do get it from there. And yeah, are there any questions at this point? Because otherwise, what I do want to let you know before we wrap things up is if you have any questions and you want me to answer them in this similar manner, be sure to check out Inspired Keys Academy, because that is where I put all my training videos on worship keys. We've got topics that range from beginner stuff to intermediate and advanced stuff. It's all there, but more than those training videos, what you get will be, if you have any questions, I will be answering them way more quickly than if you were to just submit a question to me. So we've got DJ Nanu just now asking about composition. So I could answer your question, but I will definitely be even more in-depth because I will be speaking with you if you are an Academy member. So if you're interested to find out more about Inspired Keys Academy so that you can improve on worship keys faster, be sure to go to inspiredkeys.com/join, and that's JOIN. So we've got a question about how do I increase dexterity on my hand. In general, what you want to do is try to work on technique. Now, a lot of this actually came from my classical background. So let's see, when it comes to technique, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we can really talk about, but maybe what I really want to focus on is the ability to play scales. So I'm just not sure. Thanks so much, Dwayne. Thanks for your support. Now, what you want to think about will be your ability to play scales. So this is my right hand only. Are you able to play, like, for example, just the most basic scale, like C major? Let's just turn off that pad so it's just piano for now. Are you able to play things like, you know, I used to hate this because it's just very like mechanical. You're just practicing because your teacher tells you to, because it's coming out in the exam. But then when you apply it to worship keys, it's so useful because you end up doing figurations and you sound so much smoother, right? So that's a scale. And then you have things like broken chords. Are you able to do... So these are like skills on technique. So if you want to increase in your dexterity, I highly suggest getting some technique books. So even things like arpeggios, or how comfortable are you with sort of playing octaves? Are you able to confidently reach that? That's all gonna really help just being able to play more versatile stuff. What I personally really like is the Hanon, and Hanon, Hanon, you can Google that. The famous one would be the first exercise. Now I really like this for dexterity because it uses all 5 fingers. So you have a Hanon exercise that goes like... And you just keep going on, and it sounds pretty boring in that way, but there are other Hanon exercises that goes like... Now what you really get is to exercise all 5 fingers, especially the pinky, because I feel like pinky always gets neglected when you have a scale, for example. You can practice scales all day, but how many times do you actually use the pinky? Not very often. So you have like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you use 5, like that very one time only. You don't really get to work out on the 5 a lot, but if you use the Hanon, it's always 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2. And in that way, you really get to work on all 5 fingers, which is awesome, just to build dexterity on all 5 fingers. So I really like that. So yeah, that's my most quick answer for regarding increasing dexterity. I was just wondering if anyone else has any questions at this point. Remember, Inspired Keys Academy is where you can get your worship keys questions answered more quickly than having to wait for a live Q&A like this. Joshua, thank you so much as well for watching. Green Grabber, do I believe in God? Most definitely. We're talking about God as in Jesus here. We are Christians playing worship keyboard, and it took me a long time, basically just getting to know worship keys, getting to know God and believing in God. Now, what made you choose Novation Launch Key 61? It's cheap. It's really not very expensive. I like that it's light, and as you can see, it's really just 61 keys. It's a soft touch keyboard, so that means it's really, you know, light. And I will, do you recommend using any like chimes or strings? How do I use? Okay, great. Brian, give me a second. I'm just going to finish answering some of these questions first. Yeah, so I like it because I'm like a girl. I don't have a ton of energy, so I don't want a keyboard that I can't carry. So yeah, Novation Launch Key just fits the budget, fits the weight, and it gets the job done. It's been very useful to me so far. It hasn't really had any problems as well, like the keys don't come loose or things like that, so no problems. James, thanks so much. Now I'm going to answer some questions about using chimes or strings. It really depends on what kind of worship song you guys play. So chimes, I'm thinking chimes like, are you talking about like dong 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 dong, which is very, I feel hymn-like. I feel like that's a bit too orchestral. So if you are playing in a worship setting like my church, where it's a whole bunch of like really contemporary sounds, I mean, think Hillsong or Planet Shakers or Bethel worship, that kind of genre, contemporary worship music, chimes is pretty, it's not something you would usually have in a worship song. So I definitely wouldn't really use that. Also, Rolly Seaboard. Oh wow, that's a really cool one. If you can get your hands on it, why not? How do I leave space for other musicians? Oh, hey, Shinsia, great to see you. It's great to see some familiar faces here. Okay, so let me make sure I answer all your questions. So we have a question about strings. Now, I think strings is a good alternative to pads. If you really don't have pads, you can use strings. Although I feel like my personal preference is pads, just because strings just has a bit of a 1990s Hillsong vibe to it. Like it's kind of orchestral and a bit grand, and I feel it may not be as appropriate as the very modern contemporary worship songs nowadays. Like I don't really hear a lot of strings accompaniments nowadays unless it's for like like a very song specific one string example I can think of. I'm just gonna quickly put that up here, is our God is greater, our God is stronger. So let me see if I can find my string sound. There we go. I do have a string sound here. And so like for example strings, right? So you can hear how like there's, so that's a string sound. I probably will only use a string sound if it's like a very specific song, like like I will only choose strings for a song that's suitable for that string sound because the song originally has strings accompaniments inside. Like who sings that song again? I can't remember, but Chris Tomlin, I think. Yeah, so if you listen to the original recording, it's in the arrangement, then maybe I'll mimic the arrangement just because it's familiar and people are used to it. But where possible, I just stick to pads. I just think pads are so much more versatile. Somebody was asking where to join Inspired Keys Academy. That would be inspiredkeys.com/join, JOIN. So Inspired Keys, INSPIREDKEYS.com/join. We have a question on the Rolly Seaboard. It's so cool. I just haven't had the chance to lay my hands on it. If you do, be sure to try it and buy it if you can. I think it'll be even cooler. Did someone ask, gee, I just wish there's a way for me to check like the chat messages because I can't really see the questions that you guys asked. Like they only appear on my screen for 5 seconds and then it's gone. So if you have any questions that you did ask but I didn't get to answer it, I'm so sorry. Do you mind if you just type that in again and I will try my best to catch that question and answer as fast as I can. So yeah, if you have any questions, just be sure to post them on right now. And I'm also trying to see if I can figure this out on my laptop, or if you know, can you show me or tell me what to do? Because if your question came and went and I didn't get to answer it, I am so sorry. I'm trying to see if anyone has any more questions at this point. I really hope that if you did watch from the beginning or from halfway, tips on altar call, and do you have any book for sale? Yes, I do. It is the 31 Days to Better Worship Keys Playing ebook, and that's available at, let's see, inspiredkeys.com/31days. Oh dear, I'm so sorry. I did miss that question. Someone just typed something. I'm so sorry. I really need to figure out how this works. Sorry. If you have any questions, please type that in again. Great to see you, Justin. Oh, cool. Okay, great. So are there any more worship keys questions? Once again, if you are a member of the Inspired Keys Academy, you get your questions answered more immediately instead of having to wait for the next live Q&A. And if you find this live Q&A useful, be sure to let me know. What would you like to play for, like a jazz or like shiny and beautiful chords for more joyful improvisation? Try not full screen to see. Ah, right. Oh, great. Yeah, you know what? I might actually... Oh, great. Sorry, I kind of just realized I can scroll down and see the questions. This is so cool. Okay, I got it. Guys, this is amazing. I'm just learning on the go. Okay, Brian. Brian, you were asking about what would I play for like a jazz or shiny and beautiful chords. Let's see. Yes, somebody else was asking about jazz. Now, jazz is a huge topic, and it's definitely not something that you could sort of learn like now. Like, I can't just show you one thing and there you go, you know jazz already. But there is sort of, I feel, one very useful, shiny and beautiful chords. Joyful improvisation atmosphere. Okay, being joyful, okay, in general, joyful, just stick to major chords, right? So, major chords, so the difference between major and minor, once major is, okay, let's change the sound because seriously, that's just a bit too much. And minor is just where you lower the third by half a step. So if you want to create a sad sound, just use more minor chords. And if you want to create a happy sound, just play more major chords. There we go. So Brian, that's like a really quick answer for you. But if you want to play jazz, what I really like is this. Now, I tried to take jazz lessons for a few classes, and there is this chord progression that is, I feel, like the foundation of worship keys, really, of jazz music, really. It is this particular chord progression. It's 2-5-1. So once again, it's and then so that's really just adding rhythms to those chords. But you can also have like you can infuse that into worship where appropriate. If you feel like you guys are in the mood for something a little bit more laid back and jazzy. So Brian, when it comes to jazz, so something like, this is my desire. So what did I do? I added a seventh onto a chord 1. So instead of the normal, I'm moving my C down to a B, so it creates a 1-7 chord. And jazz chords, really, it's just a whole bunch of 7th chords, but you don't want to play it like, yes, that is a correct chord, but I wouldn't want to play it in that voicing. I will spread it out so that the E goes up here. So I'll have something like, so maybe something like, this is my desire to worship you, Lord, with all my heart. Jazz chord, I'll worship you. So yeah, I will say using jazz chords is a very, like, I'll use it very selectively. Not every song has a suitable feel for jazz. So like, I quite like the This Is My Desire song for jazz. Like if I were to play it, I will add a bit of jazz feel to it. Thanks so much, Vladimir, for your kind words. Cool. I am reading through the chats right now. Happy Valentine's Day to you guys. So we're in Melbourne, Australia at the moment, so a little bit faster than most parts of the world, and it's the 13th. No plans for Valentine's Day. Gonna give my husband a few extra kisses, I suppose. We're getting pretty busy here with our 4-month-old baby. So yes, busy times with the little one. Gonna make sure I don't miss any question. Dwayne, I have been using strings and grand piano in main stage. We'll try the pad feature. Yes, definitely try pads. So guys, the thing is, I don't sell I don't get any extra commission or anything for main stage templates, but if you do use main stage, I think the smart thing to do really is just to go get a worship template. So there are two out there that most people use in the whole entire world of worship music, and that would be Worship Essentials, the one that I am currently using, and you get that from thatworshipsound.com, or Sunday Keys, which is from sundaysounds.com. So that's by David Faltzgraf, also another excellent template. The thing is, when you buy this template and you use it in main stage, you just don't have to go find the appropriate pad sound, piano sound. It's all there. You just have to load it and literally open up that file, and you're good to go for like any worship song most of the time. So I don't know, like I just literally took about 5 minutes to set up today without having to go like, uh-oh, I need to find a good pad sound from the 400 sounds on main stage. No, there is no need to do that. Just load the file and play. So I just think that saves a whole bunch of headache, because I'm not a techie person and I don't have the time to go through 400 sounds. So once again, yes, I do have my ebook. It is called 31 Days to Better Worship Keyboard Playing, and that's available at inspiredkeys.com/31days. How do I leave space? Shinjie, thank you so much for your patience. How do I leave space for other musicians? So it's really important that when you play in a worship keys band context, because if you play in a band, and we're talking about there's a bassist, electric guitarist, acoustic guitarist, drummer, singers, and maybe another keyboardist, you really need to put on like the entire music arranger's ears and just watch and listen to what everyone's doing. To leave space for other musicians, the most wonderful thing you can do is just to listen to what's going on first, because I think as a keyboard player you are so versatile, right? If we play pad, we're kind of the cushion for the entire song from start to finish, depending on the song, but we're talking most worship songs have pads in there. And then sometimes when the song goes on and then there's supposed to be a riff, you can play the riff as well. But then there are other times when there's no riff. Or maybe there are other times when there's just no need for a pad, because people like the electric guitarists might be playing very pad sounds already, because some of them just have these cool atmospheric pedals and they are playing sustaining stuff. So if they're playing sustaining stuff, you don't actually need to play. So listen to what's going on. Take your hands off the keyboard first, and when you do put your hands back onto the keyboard, tell yourself it's got to be adding value. Like, is it actually making the music better? Or is it just playing for the sake of playing? Like, I have nothing to do now, so I'm going to play something. Well, if that's the case, don't play, because you are not sure what value you're adding. But if you say, I know what I'm going to do, what I'm going to play now, I'm adding one more layer to the music that is going to make the whole music sound better, then you play it. And that usually just means magic. Like, it just sounds so good when you do add value to the overall sound. So Shinjie, if you have any further questions to this answer, be sure to ask right now. Great, I'm reading through more questions. What's the website to join my school? It's the Inspired Keys Academy. Go to inspiredkeys.com/join. Inspired Keys Academy members do get your questions answered more immediately. So I prioritize member questions. Let me have a good look at more questions. Brian, you were asking about where I get the pads from. I'm scrolling back to your question back about half an hour ago when you asked. It's this particular one is Worship Essentials template, and you get that from thatworshipsound.com. Do you use pedal with this sequence? It's hard to use pedals with pads. So FB Sosa, what I do is I only use the pedals when I am changing between chords, because you are right, there's no need to use a pedal, sustain pedal, when you have pads, right? Because your pad's already sustaining it for you. But in between chords, you need something, you might need something to sustain the first chord so that you can have a seamless transition to the second chord. So I only use pedals at that time. Also, if my fingers are okay holding on to the notes as I play the pad, that's fine. But if I need to play and then I need to like adjust my earphones or something, then that's where the sustain pedal comes in handy, because then I can just use the sustain pedal, lift up my fingers, do whatever I want, and go back to the keys again. So yes, FB Sousa, I hope that answers your question on whether I use pedals with pads. Joshua, thank you so much. Simple and nice playing. Simple is always good. Awesome. Andy Kishore, horrible at playing the piano. Everyone starts out horrible. Nobody's born with the ability. So just persevere and keep practicing, keep listening to good music so you have music that you can imitate. And great, guys. So it's almost an hour. I cannot believe time just flew right by. Okay, I've got a few more questions here. Diego, thank you so much for your question. Diego from Brazil, tell me a bit about reverb and delay effects. So I didn't really use very much reverb and delay today. When it comes to delay, it needs to have the correct settings, because if it's the wrong tempo, it's going to make the whole song sound very messy. If I were to use delay, I'll make sure I know what the tempo is, and typically it's used with something like a backing track so that there is a very set tempo, or maybe with a click track so that the whole band is at the same tempo and I can set that exact number of the tempo, whether it's like crotchet equals 88 or 88 BPM, specific number 88 or whatever it is. So I'll have to set that settings first before I just randomly use delay. Reverb, excuse me. Reverb in general is just extra sustain that happens after you play, right? So if I would like a more wet sound, I'll turn up the reverb. If I want a dry sound, I'll turn it down so that it's, when I lift up my fingers, it's usually quiet quite soon. But if I want an extra sound to make a very long sustaining effect, I'll turn up the reverb. Too much reverb can actually sound a little bit too messy or wet. So I may not always like too much reverb. So yeah, Diego, that's my answer for you. Brian, what can I do if I don't have a MacBook? I have a handphone. How can I find like appropriate sounds? Oh, HP, you mean, sorry, like, did you mean a non-MacBook, like a Windows? So what's out there, I think, is Contact for non-MacBooks, not non-Apple computers. Contact, Kontakt. Contact is one kind of main stage alternative. Also, there is Reason, Reason. So go check Contact and Reason out. Demo some filler, which is easy. Filler, as in what to play in between spaces, right? So there are many kinds of fillers that you can play based on fast or slow songs. I think what you can try to do as a very simple filler is, I'm just trying to imagine, if you have an example of a song, be sure to let me know, Xinjie. But an example filler, like a good, I'm just gonna put this on. Yes, it's good. Filler. So I'm just trying to think about what song it is that I can use to demonstrate. I quite like this. So once again, that was like a 5, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1. So maybe it's like in between chords. I mean, that's just 1 out of 5 million fillers you can use, but it's nice just because well, I'm pretty comfortable with this stretch. So, and it's like a 1, 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, which is for finger numbers. It's pretty smooth, pretty easy, and it sounds very like versatile, and you know, you can just kind of yeah, versatile in the sense that you can use it for most chords. So try that, Shinzi, and see if you like it. James, what about the l'instrument? I'm not sure what you mean by l'instrument, but yeah, sorry if you can go deeper into that question. Guys, it is an hour. I cannot believe this YouTube video actually lasted that long. I gotta go, so I'll have to end the video here, but I just want to say firstly, thank you for taking precious time to join us today at the live Q&A on YouTube. Now, this is the first one, so I'm really amazed at how productive it's been, because so many people ask questions, and it's awesome just trying to answer your questions as well. Now, if you do have more questions, be sure to leave them. Now, if you're an Inspired Keys Academy member, go to our Facebook Academy members group and leave your questions there so I can compile them to answer in the next Q&A. And of course, your questions get priority. If you'd like to be an Inspired Keys Academy member, inspiredkeys.com/join, JOIN, is the place to go. Now, if you have general questions and you're not a member, you could ask, although I may not be able to get to your question very quickly, and that you can join, you can ask your questions at the General Inspired Keys Facebook page, and that's facebook.com/inspiredkeys. Can you finish this live video playing a song? Brian, if you let me know what song it is, maybe I could think about playing something. I just don't know what song to play. Yes, I look forward to doing this live Q&A at about every fortnight, so stay tuned for an announcement on when the next one's going to be, probably sometime end February. Be sure to ask your questions, because if you ask questions, you also learn better. So let's see, any more final questions? In Jesus' name. Brian, In Jesus' Name by who? And also, do I know the song? In Jesus' Name, Darlene Check? Is that the one? We're just gonna finish up. I will see if I can play the song, although I don't really know if I know the same version of the song that you're talking about. Brian, just waiting for you to, in Jesus' name, in Jesus' name. Da, da. I just want to make sure I am referring to the same version. Da, 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 da. That one. Or Reckless Love. Oh gosh, Corey Asbury, exactly right. Like, that's his latest thing. Now, I need to hear it one time, but it sure sounds like fun just trying to play it on the fly, because it's not like I practiced that song before. As you can see, I'm actually like looking it up on YouTube right now. Okay, I just want to make sure I can... Okay, so I actually haven't practiced, but I'm just going to finish up this video with a rendition of Corey Asbury's Reckless Love. So enjoy, and leave your questions here if you have any more. I will see them later. So let's put that on. I'm actually just gonna sort of jam it, really, so I'm gonna use any key or any suitable instrument. No lyrics. Should I set up lyrics? Not like I am very good at singing and playing. I'm just gonna see if I can load up the lyrics so that we could have a sense of guide on where we are in the song, really. Okay, so I've got this going on. Can you hear? Yes. Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You've been so, so good to me. Before I took So that wraps it up, guys. Thanks so much for staying all the way till the end of the video, and leave your questions to find out more about Inspired Keys Academy, because I will be answering member questions first. Inspired Keys Academy can be joined at inspiredkeys.com/join, JOIN. And if you have a question, leave your questions at the Inspired Keys Academy Facebook group, which is a private group for members only, or on the Inspired Keys Facebook page, which is facebook.com/inspiredkeys. Guys, thanks so much, Sarah, Dina, and Brian. Thanks so much, guys. James, Brian, thanks so much for the suggestion to play this song. It was quite cool just to jam on the spot, because it's not like I practiced and I wasn't even sure if C major was suitable, but apparently it is. I think I was more like used to the Stephanie Gretzinger version. Guys, it was awesome hanging out with you, and I'll see you at the next live Q&A, and see you on Inspired Keys Academy if you wish to join, inspiredkeys.com/join. See you and take care, guys.